Hello students, good morning. In the last class we have studied about the human digestive system. In that the main four parts of the digestive system functions are studied. So what are the first four main functions of the digestive system? Main parts. Okay, first four main parts are esophagus, gallbladder, that is nothing but the liver, the gallbladder which is situated below the right abdomen of the liver. The next one is the stomach and then followed by the pancreas. In the last class we have studied about the main functions of these parts of the digestive system. In the today's class we will start with the small intestine. Before going to that, I will give some explanation means I am going to glance on the previous class. So the food is entered to the esophagus and it will transport the food materials and drinks to the stomach. Okay. In the stomach what happens? It contains inner linings which will secrete the hydrochloric acids and some digestive juice where the almost all food material is digested in the stomach. Before going to that, it will move towards the liver. In that there will be a presence of a gallbladder. That gallbladder will secrete the bile juice which will help for the digestion where the complex compounds are digested or break down easily with the help of a bile juice, and then it will move towards the stomach. Then the digested food materials will move towards the stomach. In that it contains, as I told, it will secrete the hydrochloric acid which makes the stomach as a which medium? Acidic medium. So in that acidic medium there will be it will kills the many bacteria which are not used for our digestive system, and it will kills them and it will prevent from the injuries or the somewhat diseases. So then it will the digested food will move towards the small intestine. Before going to that, it will move towards the pancreas. From the pancreas there will be a secretion of pancreatic juice. It will digest and break down the which food material? Fatty materials. That is, fat materials are break down into fatty acids. Okay. So then the food material will move towards the small intestine. So this is all you have studied in the last class. In this today's class I will start with the small intestine. So the partly digested food in the stomach now move towards the lower part of the small intestine. Then it will move towards this lower part of the small intestine. Okay, in that what happens? It will move towards this small intestine with the help of this pancreatic juices. In this small intestine there will be a presence of intestinal juice which help to they will help to digest whatever the food material which comes from the stomach. It will partly digested in the stomach. In the small intestine it will be completely digested with the help of intestinal juice. So what is this intestinal juice? It is nothing but a pale yellow color or a watery like a substance which help to the digestion. So these intestinal juice break down the complex compounds into a simpler substances. In the last class I have explained that the complex components are nothing but the carbohydrates, fats and proteins which are present in our food material. They are converted into a simpler substances like carbohydrates which will converts into a simple sugars like a glucose. Okay, the glucose is nothing but not a bottle, but it is a glucose which will digested in our body. Okay, then fats, they are converted into fatty acids and glycerol, and then the proteins which are converted into amino acids. So this is all the complex compounds converted into simpler substances. So as I told, these carbohydrates, fats and the proteins are the what complex compounds? These are break down into simpler substances. The simpler substances like glucose, fatty acids and amino acids are the simpler substances. These are very easy to digest in our body, but these complex compounds are very hard to digest in the digestive system. So these are break down and digested by the some intestinal juices, digestive juice, hydrochloric acids, Okay, on the basis of all it will digested. So the next is how this absorption takes place in the small intestine. So the absorption of a small intestine. So the students, in this digestive systems there are main four processes occur in our body. They are nothing but the ingestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. You please remember these four processes. Okay, I will write down here. The first one is ingestion. In the first class about the digestive system, I told about the ingestion, right? So what is ingestion? The taking of a food material into the digestive system, that is called as a ingestion. Okay, right. So what is the absorption? Whatever the food materials are taken from the stomach, that will be absorbed by the small intestine and it will be transported to all the parts of the human body. It is called absorption. And the assimilation is the food material which is digested, it will be transported to all the organs. Here what happens? Absorption, the food material is absorbed by the small intestine and that will be transported to all the parts of the human body, and which is not important, and that is nothing but the facial material which is removed from our body, that is called as a egestion. Okay, you please remember these words and write down the definitions of these in your notebook. For your convenience, I will explain this with the simpler words, like ingestion means intake of the food material, absorption means the food is absorbed, assimilation is transported to all the organs of the body, and egestion is excretion, which is unwanted material. So the whole digestive system is based on these four processes, that is intake of food material called ingestion, and it will move towards the small intestine where the food is absorbed, that is digested food is absorbed here in the small intestine, and through the small intestine it will transport to all the organs of the body, that is assimilation. And lastly, the food material which are digested and the unwanted food material will excreted, and the process called egestion. So this is main of the digestive system. I told in the small intestine the digested food passes into the blood vessels in the wall of the small intestine. This process is called absorption. So whatever the food is digested in the stomach, that will be absorbed by the blood, that will be absorbed by the small intestine, and this process is called as absorption. So how these small intestine absorb the food material, that is digested food material? It is I mean to say, this small intestine is provided with the finger-like outer growths which are present in the inner wall of the small intestines, and they are called as villi. Okay, villi. And where these are present? These are present in the inner wall of the small intestine. So this is the inner wall of the small intestine. Okay, in this there will be a presence of finger-like outer growths. Finger-like outer growths which will help to absorb the digested food material from the stomach. I will show here. If it is a small intestine, okay, this is the walls of the small intestine. Okay, this is the inner wall of the small intestine. The villi, they are like a finger-like structures. Here I am showing that the finger-like structures present in the inner wall of the small intestine. Okay, are you here looking here? So these are the finger-like outer growths which will help to absorb the food materials. So villus is a singular form and the plural form of this villus is a villi. So students, you can ask me the question, what is the function of this villi? Right. So the function of this villi is to increase the surface area for the absorption of the food materials. Okay, when these villi will increases the surface area, means they will make this area wider so that the food material. Question: what is this function of the villi? Okay, the function of this villi is to increase the surface area of the small intestine for the absorption of the food material. When there is an increase in the area of the small intestine, the digested food material will easy to move to small intestine. So this villi help to increase the surface area of this small intestine. So these villi are having a network like a structures. They are these villi are having a thin network like a structures which are connected to the blood vessels. Okay, these connected to blood vessels, and which the food material is absorbed by these intestine will move towards the blood vessels. So the transportation of the food materials via these villi to all the parts of the organs in the digestive system, it is called as assimilation. As I told, the transportation of the food material to all the parts of the human body, that is called assimilation. In the cells, what happens? The glucose is break down into a simpler substances. Whatever almost all food material is absorbed by the small intestine, it is almost digested, and the remaining, which is undigested food material, will move towards the large intestine. Okay, here it will move towards the large intestine. Which type of food material will move towards the large intestine? The undigested food material will move towards the large intestine. So students, as I told, in the cells what happens? Glucose is break down into simpler substances with the help of oxygen, carbon dioxide and water. I will show that glucose is break down into simpler substances. Okay, glucose is break down into simpler substances in presence of what? Oxygen, then water and carbon dioxide. Okay, so in that what happens? These simpler substances is in the form of energies. So glucose is converted into energy in the presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide and water. The energy is released during this absorption of the material or the assimilation of the food material. So as I told, in the undigested food material will move towards the large intestine. So what is happens in the large intestine? Digested and unabsorbed food material is move towards the large intestine. Okay, so this large intestine is wider and shorter than the small intestine. What is the length of the small intestine? The length of the small intestine is approximately equal to 7.5 meters. Okay, the length of the small intestine is 7.5 meters, and this large intestine is shorter than the small intestine. It is approximately equal to 1.5 meters. So in this large intestine, what happens? The undigested food material will move here, and the water substance or salty substances are absorbed by the large intestine, and the remaining undigested food material will move towards the rectum, which is the seventh part is the rectum. In that, the unwanted or the undigested unabsorbed food material is moved towards the rectum. In the rectum, there will be converts that food material as fecal materials. The fecal materials is nothing but the unwanted waste that is not digested. Okay, so through that rectum, and the anus, the unwanted materials are excreted, and this process is called as excretion or egestion. So this is all about the human digestive system. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay, thank you.